Every day's a school day, or so the saying goes. And certainly that was the case for one of my clients the other day, who is no newbie to Cubase. He's been around the block a few times. He's done music for TV, for talent shows. And if you've ever seen a diversity live show, he's the guy who's responsible for all the music for that. So, say this isn't somebody who's wet behind the ears, but he didn't know one of the things I'm going to show you in this video. And it was like catnip to him. He thought this was the greatest thing ever. So that's what's prompted this video. Ultimately, it's about making use of one of these, or probably more likely, the one on the side of your keyboard already. So this is about shortcuts that you can use in Cubase to speed things up and make you look like some kind of Jedi ninja working with it. You might know some of these. You might know all of these, although I doubt it. So let's take a look and see what using the keypad can do for you in Cubase. So here we are in Cubase, and I've got the keyboard here at the bottom of the screen. So hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing, as well as me describing it. So the first thing probably everybody knows is that 1 and 2 here take you to your left and right locators. So you can probably see on screen, we're moving from the left to the right locator. That's starting point. Great. If you already know that, that's cool. Now there are also transport controls available here. So divide toggles cycle on and off. So you can see that going on and off. Record is done by the star. And you've also got some transport controls here. So 0, if I press play on spacebar here, let's say I'm just going to stop there. If you press play again, normally most people use a spacebar. So if you press play, it's just toggling play on and off. Pretty straightforward stuff. If you use the 0 key, it takes you back to the last point you started playing from. So you can hit enter to start playback. One tap of 0 will stop, but another one will take you back. So this is like a useful way to get back to where you were. So if you want to repeat a section, you can actually do it fairly easily without having to set any locators, etc., and so on. Pretty straightforward. Now the dot will take you back to the beginning of the session. So that's useful as well. So you've got some useful controls there. Now this next bit, this is what blew the person's mind. Minus and plus are fast forward and rewind. So they're just like tape machine controls. And in fact, if we had the controls visible on screen, so if we went for the full version here, you will see them activated. So it's just fast forward and rewind. So they are super useful in that respect. Those are the things which already his mind was blown at this point. But there's more. Anyone who's old school Atari will know this, but you can use 3 through 9 as markers. So you can set these as, they used to be called locators, but now they're called markers for reasons, because it generates a marker. So let's say you don't want to mess around moving around. You want to go back to a specific point repeatedly. All you do is you hold down the control or command keys. It's control on Windows, command on Mac, and then hit one of these numbers here. And as you can see on screen, it's set a locator. So it's actually set a marker, but these are known originally as locators. So 1 will take me to my left locator, 2 will take me to my right one, and 3, you'll see, will take me to that newly created marker. Now, if I go to another place in the session, I can set another one. So let's say we'll set marker number 4. And now we can go between 3 and 4 really easily. Now, these are numbered markers. And if you decide to set it again, so if we go a bit further on, what I'm going to do is now reset number 3. So again, I'm going to hold down Command and 3 or Control and 3 on Windows. And now that moves that there. So you've got these flexible markers, stroke locators that you can use really, really quickly to navigate around your session without having to faff around with the markers menu, etc. Much quicker doing it from the keyboard. If you want to select cycle markers, you can do that from the keyboard as well. So holding down, you can see I've got 3 cycle markers set, and holding down Shift and pressing 1 will do the first cycle marker. Shift and 2 does the second one. Shift and 3 does the third one. So there's 9 cycle markers you can access really quickly. So again, zipping around your session and having those locators set will be really, really easy to do. Now, coming back to that fast forward and rewind, you can modify those with keyboard modifiers. So if you hold down the Shift key and do minus, you can see it's even faster. So if I go back, let's go to the left locator. So I'm at bar 7. If I press the minus normally, you see it rewinds like that. If I press Shift and minus, mega rewind. And again, mega fast forward. So if it's not fast forwarding or rewinding fast enough for you, Shift will speed that up. Conversely, if you want to kind of slow it down, you can use this for nudge. So if you hold down the Command or Control key, depending on if you're on Mac or Windows, each time you press plus or minus, it will move it by whatever increment you've got set here. So at the moment it's bars, but if I set it to beat, again, I'm holding down the Command key on my Mac, Control on Windows, and just doing minus, you can move back or forward a bar or whatever at a time easily by setting that. So again, that can move really nicely. And if you're in Adapt to Zoom, then you'll see it will work depending on how zoomed in or out. So if we zoom out, that's now jumping more. So often that's what it will be set to anyway, but it's controlled by this, how far you nudge one way or another. There's a few more little things hidden away. So one of them is you can activate retrospective record. So I'm just going to play something on my keyboard. Don't worry, you can't hear it. It doesn't really matter for 2 reasons. 1, it doesn't matter. 2, it will be terrible. So I've done that. Now you hopefully know that you've got retrospective record here, but you also have retrospective record on a keyboard. So you hold down the Shift key, press the star, which is normally record. And there you go, there's your retrospective MIDI recording activated, and that's put into that track. Now, another thing I hope you're making use of is workspaces. They are, I think, particularly useful on laptops, but also I actually use it on my desktop DAW because I can have different workflows set up and record really easily doing that kind of thing. So you can activate them using the keyboard. And in this case, it's Alt or Option, and then your numeric keypad numbers. So in this case, on the Mac, I've got 2 set up. So number 2 will take me to my mixer workspace. And number 1 will take me back to my normal project window workspace. There's a separate video on the channel about workspaces if you want to know a bit more. So the last little thing I want to look at is using a couple of these controls in MediaBay. So you can do a couple of options using keyboard shortcuts and the numeric keypad in MediaBay. So the first one is, if you hold down the Shift key and do the divide, you can see that's turning cycle on and off in MediaBay. And the other one is Shift and Enter, which, as you can see, is turning the playback on. So there you go. Those are all of the keyboard shortcuts that I think are useful for the numeric keypad. Now, if you get a standalone keypad, you will notice one thing if you're on Mac OS. It will work seamlessly if you're on Windows. But if you're on Mac OS, the only commands which will work properly will be the ones where you're not pressing a modifier key. So if you have to press Shift or Option or Command to get any of these shortcuts, it will not work. I think the reason is that macOS seems to treat each keyboard as a separate entity, and this keyboard doesn't have a Command or Shift key on it. Whereas it appears to me that Windows treats all of the keyboards as kind of one mega keyboard. So even if you're doing it on a separate keyboard on Windows, it will work. You can press Shift on one keyboard and the key in question on the numeric keypad, and that will work. I haven't found a workaround for that yet, but if you have one, please let me know in the description and I'll put something extra on a video. As ever, hope you found this useful and hopefully you did know all of these, and we'll see you again soon for more Music Tech Tuition.